Have you ever tasted something so good, it made you wonder what's their secret? Well, today, we're about to reveal a food truck's hidden ingredient. That's turning ordinary dishes into extraordinary flavors. This isn't your average spice, it's a carefully crafted blend that's been kept under wraps for years. Trust me, once you know this secret, you'll never look at street food the same way again. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more true stories. We stand in front of an unassuming food truck, parked on a bustling street corner. Everything around it is ordinary: the honking cars, the hustle of the city, and the everyday rush. Yet, inside this small food truck, something extraordinary is happening, a secret hidden from the world. Tom Harris, the food truck owner, is a middle-aged man with gray hair and a warm smile. He stands behind his counter, effortlessly preparing meals, seemingly like any other food truck owner. His menu? Simple, just classic, hearty sandwiches. But there's a buzz, something people can't quite place. Locals return time and again to grab a bite, drawn by the same thing that makes the food truck stand out from the rest. Yet, the secret to the flavor, it's never discussed. Tom keeps things modest, never acknowledging what others have started to suspect, that there's something more, something unique about his food. Customers talk. What makes this truck different? One asks, what's his secret? Another wonders. It's the same question, popping up on every corner. Still, Tom smiles, shakes his head, and simply says, it's just good food. But the truth is, there's more beneath the surface. There's something Tom isn't sharing, a flavor that seems almost magical, yet remains elusive. Then comes Sarah, a young, successful food blogger with a large following. She visits the truck one afternoon. She's always on the lookout for something special to share with her audience. But when she takes a bite of Tom's sandwich, something clicks. It's unlike anything she's ever tasted before: complex, rich, layered. No one ingredient stands out, but there's an undeniable depth. This is more than just a regular sandwich. And that's when she decides she has to uncover the secret. Over the course of a few weeks, Sarah returns, engaging in casual conversation with Tom. She tries to get him to open up, subtly questioning him about his recipe. He's always polite, but never lets anything slip. At first, he's reluctant to share anything. Just a family recipe, he tells her. But Sarah doesn't give up. She knows there's more to it. She starts talking to regulars, picking up bits and pieces of stories. One customer mentions seeing Tom add a special spice mix that's hidden away in a drawer, always kept out of sight. This piques Sarah's interest even further. It's a clue there's more to the food than just being good food. One evening, as the food truck winds down and the crowd thins out, Sarah seizes the opportunity to ask Tom directly, what's really in that sandwich? What's the secret? She asks, this time with a bit more persistence in her voice. Tom hesitates, looking around nervously. For the first time, he seems uncertain, but then his demeanor softens. With a deep breath, Tom begins to tell her the story behind the secret. He explains how, many years ago, he started this food truck with nothing but a small set of spices his mother had passed down to him. His mother was from a small Mexican town, where food was everything. The spices she taught him to use weren't just for flavor, they were part of her heritage, a piece of their shared history. But what made them special wasn't just the spices themselves. It was the way they were blended, the time spent perfecting each mix, and the love and dedication behind it all. You see, it's not just about one spice, Tom says, looking down at his hands as he talks. It's the combination, the balance. That's what makes it so special. And it's a family thing. We've always kept it to ourselves. Tom reveals that it's a blend of 12 spices, each one carefully selected to complement the others. These spices are what give the sandwich its signature taste, a taste that people can't quite place but can't forget either. The secret, Tom explains, isn't just in the recipe, it's in the story behind it. The hours spent perfecting the blend, the memories tied to each ingredient, and the dedication to creating something meaningful. Sarah listens, captivated by the story. She can hear the emotion in Tom's voice as he speaks about his family and his journey. This spice blend, these sandwiches, they're more than food. They're a connection to his past, a piece of his mother's legacy. It's about more than The flavors, it's about preserving tradition, about honoring the people who came before him. As Tom talks about his mother, Sarah realizes this is what makes the food so extraordinary. It's not just the spices, but the love, the history, and the effort behind them. What people taste in each bite isn't just food, it's a story. It's a piece of someone's life, carefully crafted and shared with the world. The next day, Sarah shares Tom's story with her followers, not just the recipe, but the deeper meaning behind the food. She talks about how, in the midst of a fast-paced, disposable world, this food truck owner has created something meaningful. She doesn't just reveal the recipe, she reveals the heart behind it. And soon, more people begin to visit Tom's food truck, not just for the food, but for the story. They come to experience a part of history, a taste of love and tradition in every bite. For Tom, it's not about fame or fortune, it's about keeping his family's legacy alive and sharing it with others. As Sarah leaves the food truck that evening, she reflects on what she's learned. Sometimes, the best things in life are the ones that are hidden, the things that take time, love, and care to reveal. And in the end, the most delicious secrets are the ones we share with others. Sarah had been following Tom's food truck for weeks now, watching him work tirelessly behind the counter, crafting the same sandwich over and over again. On the surface, it seemed like just another food truck, a humble setup with a modest menu. But for Sarah, there was something more beneath the surface. She'd heard the whispers from customers, had seen the satisfied expressions on their faces after each bite, and felt the curiosity gnawing at her. What was his secret? It wasn't just the food that drew Sarah in. She was a food blogger, yes, but she'd also spent years chasing stories, uncovering hidden gems in the food industry, and finding the people behind the plates. And Tom, he intrigued her in a way that no other food truck had. It wasn't about the food being extravagant or trendy, it was the kind of food that made you feel at home. But what made it different? As a food critic and blogger, Sarah was used to digging for answers. Most food entrepreneurs were open about their secrets, at least to some degree. They would share their ingredients, tweak their recipes for the public eye, and use social media to market their brand. But Tom wasn't like that. He kept everything close to his chest. There was a sense of mystery that lingered around him, and it made Sarah even more determined to crack the code. One evening, Sarah stood by the counter, casually chatting with a regular customer. The topic of Tom's mysterious sandwich came up once again. "You know, I've tried everything in town," the woman said, licking her lips after finishing her sandwich, "but nothing compares to his. I've been trying to figure out what makes it so special. I think it's the spices." "Have you ever asked him about it?" Sarah shook her head, still unsure of how to approach the subject. "He won't tell anyone," she replied. "He just says it's a family recipe." But there was something more. Sarah could see it in the way Tom prepared the food, his precise movements, the way his face softened as he worked. It wasn't just about feeding people. It was about something deeper. There was an emotion, a connection to something greater. But it was all hidden behind that calm exterior. That's when Sarah decided to take a different approach. She'd been to the truck many times now, casually chatting with Tom, trying to build a rapport. He was always polite, but he never opened up about anything personal. She needed a breakthrough. So she returned to the truck one late afternoon, when the usual rush had died down and there were fewer people. This time, she would go beyond asking about the food. As Sarah stood there, watching Tom prepare another round of sandwiches, she noticed something. He wasn't just cooking, he was enjoying it. There was a kind of peace in his movements, as though he was lost in a memory, or perhaps a dream. His brow furrowed slightly when he added a pinch of something to the pan, and for a brief moment, he looked almost nostalgic. Sarah watched from the corner of the food truck, feeling like an outsider in a world she couldn't quite understand. Her gaze lingered on the small wooden box behind Tom, the one that was always kept under lock and key. It was the same box she had seen him reach for on occasion, always with such care. She had heard customers speculate about it, some thinking it contained a rare spice, others believing it was an old family heirloom. But now, as she observed him, she couldn't help but feel that the box held more than just ingredients. It was a symbol of something much larger. As if sensing her gaze, Tom turned, his expression shifting from focus to a slight tension. "Everything all right?" he asked, a polite smile on his face. For a moment, Sarah hesitated. The thought of pushing him further, of forcing the truth out of him, made her stomach churn. But she'd come this far, and she couldn't back down now. "I've been thinking," she said slowly, "about this secret ingredient. I know it's something special, and I get the feeling it means a lot to you. But why the secrecy?" Tom's smile faded for a brief second, replaced by a look of quiet conflict. He put the sandwich down and slowly walked to the back of the food truck, pulling the box from its hiding place. Sarah felt her heart race. This was the moment. But instead of revealing its contents, Tom simply placed the box on the counter and spoke softly. "It's not just about the recipe," he began, his voice low. "It's about what it represents. This spice blend. It's a part of my family's history. It's a connection to my mother, who taught me how to cook. She wasn't just a cook, she was a storyteller. Every ingredient, every pinch of spice, was a lesson in patience, love, and perseverance." Sarah leaned forward, her curiosity piqued. She had no idea where this was going. But there was something in Tom's voice, a depth of emotion that made her realize she wasn't just dealing with a recipe. She was uncovering something much more profound. "My mother came from a small town," Tom continued, his eyes focused on the box. "She was born in Mexico. The spices she used were part of her heritage, and she passed them down to me. When she died, I inherited her recipes, her legacy. This box, it holds everything she taught me. It's not just a blend, it's my family's story. It's my way of holding on to her." Sarah's heart skipped a beat. This wasn't just about a food truck or a secret recipe, it was about love, memory, and the bond between generations. Tom wasn't just keeping the ingredients safe, he was safeguarding his family's history, and the food he served was a living testament to that. She sat there for a moment, processing what he had shared. The story behind the spices made everything click into place. The food was more than just nourishment, it was a piece of the past, a way to honor his mother's legacy. And now, Sarah realized, it wasn't just the food that was special, it was the love and memories that Tom had poured into it. In that quiet moment, Sarah understood that she was about to reveal something more than just a recipe. She was about to share a story of legacy, passion, and family, a story that went far beyond what anyone had ever expected. "Thank you for sharing that with me," she said softly, a new respect in her eyes. She wasn't just revealing the secret ingredient anymore. She was telling a story that mattered. Sarah sat across from Tom, the silence between them thick and heavy. It had been an hour since he shared the story of his mother's spices, the legacy passed down through generations, the care and love he poured into every batch of seasoning. Everything had seemed so clear before she was a food blogger, always chasing stories and sharing them with the world. But this wasn't just another food secret to reveal. This was personal. This was deep. And now, Sarah found herself at a crossroads. The question she couldn't stop asking herself wasn't what's in Tom's spice blend. It was, should I share this with the world? She'd written about plenty of food secrets, but none had ever felt like this. The spices weren't just ingredients. They were memories, a connection to Tom's late mother, and a part of his family's heritage. If she shared this, would she be stripping away something sacred? Was she doing the right thing by exposing a part of his past that he had kept so private? Tom wasn't pushing her. He wasn't asking her to share, but his quiet expectation weighed on Sarah. She could feel his eyes on her, searching, waiting for her decision. The more she thought about it, the more conflicted she became. She'd always believed in telling the truth, in bringing stories to light, but this was different. This wasn't just a recipe. It was a story of love, of family, and of grief, something that couldn't be captured in a mere blog post or video. She watched him as he absent-mindedly cleaned his hands, his gaze drifting to the wooden box, behind him the one that contained his mother's spice blend. The very heart of his food truck. There was a bond there, a relationship not just between Tom and the food, but between him and the memory of his mother. Could she really take that away? Could she really tell the world something so personal, something he had worked so hard to protect? Sarah, Tom's voice broke through her thoughts, his gentle tone pulling her back to reality. "You can keep the secret, right?" She froze, the words hanging in the air. Her pulse quickened. She had come to this food truck to find a story, but now she realized that the story wasn't just about Tom's spices. It was about his past, his family, and his values. And if she told it wrong, if she exposed this secret, it wouldn't just be a story, it would be a betrayal. The weight of the decision pressed down on her chest. What would her followers think if she didn't reveal it? It could be the scoop of a lifetime, something that would put her blog on the map, bring in more followers than ever. But at what cost? Could she live with the guilt of stripping away something so personal, so valuable? She looked up at Tom, his face etched with a quiet hope. For a moment, she felt an overwhelming sense of empathy for him, the pain of losing his mother, the love he still had for her, and the legacy he was carrying forward. It was all there in his eyes. This wasn't just about food. It was about honoring a life, a memory, a story that deserved to be respected, not exploited. And yet, the pull of her career, the drive to get the best story, threatened to drown out her empathy. Sarah started, but her voice faltered. She looked away, unable to meet Tom's eyes for a moment. She wasn't sure if she could make this decision. Her career had always been about exposing the truth, finding the hidden gems. But this was different. This was more than a secret ingredient. It was a piece of someone's heart. Tom's voice was quiet now, almost like he was afraid to ask, "Sarah, please, I'm trusting you with this." And that was the moment. Sarah knew she had to make a choice. Would she expose the secret to the world, or would she keep it safe like Tom had asked? The decision seemed simple, but the more she thought about it, the more complicated it became. She felt torn between her desire to share the story and her growing respect for Tom and his family's legacy. The door to the food truck suddenly swung open, breaking the tension. A new group of customers walked in, but Sarah hardly noticed them. Her mind was still racing, heart pounding in her chest. She wasn't ready for this. No one ever warned her that doing the right thing would feel this difficult. The phone in her pocket buzzed, but she barely registered it. She couldn't think straight. Her gaze shifted back to the box behind Tom, now sitting on the counter, like a symbol of the choice she had to make. Every fiber of her being screamed to walk away, to not touch it, to leave the decision to Tom. But the pull of the blog, of the spotlight, of the success that could come from telling this story, it was so tempting. Was she being selfish? Was she thinking only of herself? The phone buzzed again. This time, Sarah glanced down. It was an email from a TV producer, a major network, wanting to feature Tom's food truck on a show. The email practically screamed opportunity. This was the big break she'd been waiting for, the one she could never have dreamed of. All she had to do was share Tom's secret. But as she read the email, Sarah felt a knot tighten in her stomach. The offer was too good to ignore, and the temptation to expose the story was stronger than ever. Yet, as she looked at Tom, waiting patiently, she realized the truth. This wasn't just about her. It was about his family, his mother's memory. Could she really trade that for a few moments of fame? She stood up suddenly, the decision pressing down on her chest. "I need to think," she muttered, turning toward the door. But Tom's voice stopped her. "Sarah, don't make the wrong choice." Her heart skipped a beat as she looked at him, eyes filled with a quiet desperation. He wasn't angry, just pleading, silently begging her to do the right thing. The weight of that gaze was too much. She wanted to help him, but how could she? How could she choose between the truth and a story that was much too precious to share? She turned back to the table, the email still in her hand, and her pulse raced. This wasn't just a choice, it was a test of everything she believed in. Sarah stood in silence, the light from the neon sign above casting shadows on her face. It had been an hour since Tom shared his mother's spice story, the legacy passed down through generations, the love and care he put into every batch of seasoning. Everything had seemed so clear before she was a food blogger, always chasing stories and sharing them with the world. But this wasn't just another food secret to reveal. This was personal. This was deep. And now, Sarah found herself at a crossroads. The question she couldn't stop asking herself wasn't what's in Tom's spice blend. It was, should I share this with the world? She'd written about plenty of food secrets, but none had ever felt like this. The spices weren't just ingredients. They were memories, a connection to Tom's late mother, and a part of his family's heritage. If she shared this, would she be stripping away something sacred? Was she doing the right thing by exposing a part of his past that he had kept so private? Tom wasn't pushing her. He wasn't asking her to share, but his quiet expectation weighed on Sarah. She could feel his eyes on her, searching, waiting for her decision. The more she thought about it, the more conflicted she became. She'd always believed in telling the truth, in bringing stories to light, but this was different. This wasn't just a recipe. It was a story of love, of family, and of grief, something that couldn't be captured in a mere blog post or video. She watched him as he absent-mindedly cleaned his hands, his gaze drifting to the wooden box, behind him the one that contained his mother's spice blend. The very heart of his food truck. There was a bond there, a relationship not just between Tom and the food, but between him and the memory of his mother. Could she really take that away? Could she really tell the world something so personal, something he had worked so hard to protect? Sarah, Tom's voice broke through her thoughts, his gentle tone pulling her back to reality. You can keep the secret, right? She froze, the words hanging in the air. Her pulse quickened. She had come to this food truck to find a story, but now she realized that the story wasn't just about Tom's spices. It was about his past, his family, and his values. And if she told it wrong, if she exposed this secret, it wouldn't just be a story, it would be a betrayal. The weight of the decision pressed down on her chest. What would her followers think if she didn't reveal it? It could be the scoop of a lifetime, something that would put her blog on the map, bring in more followers than ever. But at what cost? Could she live with the guilt of stripping away something so personal, so valuable? She looked up at Tom, his face etched with a quiet hope. For a moment, she felt an overwhelming sense of empathy for him. The pain of losing his mother, the love he still had for her, and the legacy he was carrying forward. It was all there in his eyes. This wasn't just about food. It was about honoring a life, a memory, a story that deserved to be respected, not exploited. And Sarah understood that in this moment. She wasn't just a storyteller, she was a protector of something far more precious. Tom, Sarah said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. I'm going to keep your secret. This story isn't meant to be shared with the world. At least not in the way I thought. I want to protect it. I want to protect you and your family. Tom smiled, a look of relief washing over his face, his eyes softening. Thank you, he said quietly. You're the first person to understand, and I'm so grateful for that. In that moment, Sarah realized that sometimes we have to make choices that aren't easy. Fame, recognition, and success can easily draw us in. But in the end, the things that truly matter are the values we hold close: respect, love, and family. Those are the things worth protecting. She stood up, walking out of the food truck with a strange sense of peace. Tom's story wouldn't be forgotten, but it wouldn't be exploited either. It would remain a part of him, something that only those who truly understood could appreciate. And that was enough. Moral lesson: the greatest stories don't always need to be shared with the world. Sometimes, the most precious secrets and legacies are meant to be kept, not exposed, to preserve their true meaning. Tom's story was a reminder that the things we cherish most, our families, our histories, deserve to be respected and protected. Call to action: CTA. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Let them know that sometimes the greatest stories are the ones we choose to keep close.